What's up, dedicated Dragon Ball denizens? I'm Brian, and we're here for another special edition of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Excited to get in here and demonstrate what some of the skills I have learned and want to communicate to you all while I got my master's in sport and performance psychology. So these are evidence-based skills to help you win your matchups. It's basically like physical training, but for your mind. So today we're getting into breathing techniques. I'm going to talk about what they are in the context of competitive TCG, when to use them, and then we'll go over a specific one called diaphragmatic breathing, and I'm going to actually demo that to you all in that. So let's get into it. All right, now breathing techniques in general. So they are easy to learn ways of gaining control over your mind and your body. You can use breathing techniques to hype yourself up and to calm yourself down. This time I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on how to calm ourselves down, right? They can be done very quickly without most people even noticing that you're using the technique, a lot of times in your matches, between matches, and you can make them longer or shorter, and maybe before your match if you're incorporating it into your pre-performance routine. You may be doing it for a little bit longer, sometimes up to 5 minutes, but I mean even 1 or 2 breaths is plenty to go, right? Okay, so then raising awareness. Now, in order to most properly use breathing techniques, we need to know when we need to use them. So you need to raise your awareness on, think about, when do you feel like you're losing control over your situation that you're in, over your match, over the entire competition, over your mindset, over anything, right? So when you feel these things, pay attention to your physiological sensations. That's your body. What are you feeling in there? Are you feeling hot? Are you feeling cold? Are you feeling out of breath? Are you breathing quickly, or are you even breathing more slowly, right? Then think about your psychological sensations. That's your mind, your thoughts. What are your thoughts that are coming to mind that are flooding you, that are maybe starting to take over and bring, what do we say about attention? Our valuable attentional resources are being used improperly, or being used on irrelevant stimuli. So pay attention to that, and that's how we're going to raise awareness to know when we need to use these breathing techniques, just like cue words, to put us back on track. All right, now the specific technique we're going to go through, there are many different types of breathing techniques you can use, but today we're going to talk about what is called diaphragmatic breathing. Sometimes we call them belly breathing, right? So I've got all of the steps up here. There's technically 5, but I put in a step 0. Step 0 is think about breathing. Before we do a breathing technique, we need to think about it, right? And then step 1 is going to be just breathing in and out like normal, but be a little bit more intentional about it and making sure that we're really doing that breath, right? And then after that, step 2 is breathing really intentionally and really getting a rhythm to that. And then next, step 3, we're going to learn how to use our belly to take in those breaths rather than what a lot of people, when you breathe, your chest is going to get, but we don't want that to happen, or we want our belly to grow instead, the air to go into there. And then from there, step 4 is practice makes perfect. We're going to need to practice that technique, right? And then step 5 is going to be use that technique out into the wild. So now let's go through, and the rest of this video is going to be breaking down how to do each step with mini demos in there, and then finally we're going to actually go through the entire technique. Step 0 is think about breathing. I hinted on this early, right? Our body breathes automatically. You don't have to think about breathing. However, there are times when we need to override the automatic breathing of our body, because sometimes it's going to breathe very shallowly. You might not even notice, or you may be holding your breath without noticing. So we need to override the automatic breaths that our body is taking. Sometimes it may be even too slow, too fast, right? So think about the times when your breathing is not ideal, which are a lot of times when we're losing control of our matches, when we're starting to spiral down into negative thought patterns. Our breathing is going to change, and it's also going to affect the physiological symptoms of our body. When you're breathing too quickly, it's going to increase our heart rate. It's going to potentially increase, our perspiration. We may be sweating, things like that. When we're holding our breath, we may get lightheaded. Our thoughts aren't going to be as clear, so we need to think about that. And we can use our breathing techniques to get our body pumping oxygen throughout our body in the most ideal way. Okay, then step one is just to breathe in and breathe out. Start by taking some practice breaths, and you need to be really intentional about this. Is inhale from your nose and then exhale through your mouth. Make sure it's a little bit forceful on both ways. In through the nose, exhale through the mouth. I've got allergies, so my inhales are not great, but you know they'll do. And then try taking increasingly deeper inhales and exhales until you really find the sweet spot. Sometimes even doing too long in or out can get you a little bit lightheaded. There's different numbers for everybody, so just start kind of becoming aware, doing those breathing, and then from there we can really start to breathe intentional, right? And really go deep. Hold it for a second. And then push that air out through your mouth. And in order to do the more relaxation based breathing techniques, the exhale should be longer than the inhale. A lot of times, a 2 to 1 is a solid way to go, right? So maybe we can go, and it's usually not quite ideal, maybe more like a 1 to 1.5, like a 5-second 7. Let's kind of see what the natural is for me. That's 5, hold. Well, that was good. 5 to 10, right? So I like a nice solid 1 to 2, but some people are more like a 1 to 1.5. If you exhale too long, you're going to get lightheaded. So really, like I said, find the right spot for you. All right, so I'm as far away about from my camera as I can be, right? So hopefully you'll be able to see. So let's try it. So notice that my chest is staying pretty stationary, but my belly will expand just a little bit. And it also gets posture on a little bit. You get good and not, right? So that's kind of what we're wanting to do there. Now we're back at it, right? So step 4 is practice makes perfect. Like I said, it's different for really everybody. Think of a comfortable ratio for the inhale to exhale. Like I said, for relaxation, go try for a 2 for 1, meaning exhaling twice as long as you're inhaling. So maybe an ideal thing to do might be a 5 to 10. Some people may start with something like a 3 to 6. It all really depends. I've been doing this for a very long time, although I do have less of a lung capacity compared to some for my age. So it's really different for everybody. But really, like I said, practice it until you don't have to even think about it, right? Like I said, I didn't even quite know. Like I just do what's comfortable for me. And as we saw, it was just a 5 to 10. 5 seconds in, 10 seconds out. Make sure you give that slight little hold too once you get the full inhale, and really pay attention to that belly. Make sure that you can get that to expand. Finally, we need to use that technique out in the wild. Pre-performance routine is my absolute favorite time to use breathing techniques. If you don't use them at any other point, I think that's a solid way to at least get you into your performance in a good state. But it's super important to use them throughout your matches and throughout your day of competition as well. For me, I start all my pre-performance routines, always do breathing as the first thing, because it really gets your energy levels to where you need. It gives you a sense of control over you and your environment. And then, as we know, when we're increasing the senses of control, it increases our confidence, which in turn increases our performance. Immediately before and after a match is a great time to use them as well. A lot of people think about the beforehand because, you know, we're getting a little bit nervous for the match of going into it, but afterwards is just as, if not more crucial, because our energy levels are ramping up and up and up and up throughout that match to where we're at that climax. And, you know, especially in those close, long matches, our energy might be like this. You know, we might be at the end of the match. Breathe and see that get back down to a stasis to where you're not going to burn yourself out. So important in these long, drawn out competitions where you're going to play 8 rounds or more to manage those energy levels. And breathing techniques are a great way of doing so because it gets your heartbeat to where you need. You're not pumping too much oxygen. And also, as well, maybe you're deflated after a match. Oh, man, I'm just freaking terrible. Wakes you back up too. If you need to wake up during a match is great too. Just one or two breaths can be crucial in that match where maybe things didn't go. Like, oh man, I got my board set up, I was ready to go, I had the perfect hand to just end the next turn, and then your opponent just does something you never expect, and you're like, great. Oh man, and then your mind starts wandering, and you start kind of ruminating on this. Because again, as I mentioned, your focus and attention needs to be fully on the match. But if that breathing just for 1 second even takes it out of the match, that's okay because you are already distracted thinking about the past. So we can help us get back into the present by doing those breathing techniques. Now let's put it all together. You want to go through all of these steps and really start getting that breathing technique down and personalize it to you. So start by thinking about breathing, right? We're going to think about it. When is my breathing good? When is it bad? And then when you notice it's bad, just start real slow. Breathe in and out. However that is. Don't even think about like how long of in or out for at least maybe a breath or two if you have the time, right? If you have the time. You may not if you're in a match. And then start breathing more intentionally. Start counting the ins and outs. That was 5 to 10. We'll do 5 to 10 again. And then I'm going to think, that's intentional. You know what? I think I need a little bit longer. I'm going to increase that to maybe a 10 to 15. So I'm going to do 10 seconds in and 15 out. Okay, that was nice. Now we'll use our belly. Hand on your chest, hand on your belly. Do whatever that was. I'm going to go with this time a 7 to 14. And I'm going to make sure that I get that in my belly. So try it out with me. We'll do 7 to 14 again. Keep that chest steady. Get it in your belly. Get the air in your belly. Solid. And then practice it. Practice makes perfect. Find, like I said, whatever your ideal is. Try with different amounts of time, knowing that maybe in a match, you're not going to want to do 14 seconds. You're not going to, remember, if you're going to do a 10 to 20, then that's going to mean that's 30 seconds in your match. So try things like 3 to 6, 2 to 4. What's going to really get it for you? And really, like I said, you need to practice because maybe 2 to 4 during a match, I'm going to do it during the match and it's going to make it better. Maybe it makes you worse. I'm not. This isn't something that's always going to work 2 to 4 or 1 to 2 and improve you. You've got to figure out what it is, and then once you do, use that technique out in the wild. Now, in summary, breathing techniques are one of the simplest ways to help you either calm down or hype up. The first step, though, is to raise awareness about when you need to be more intentional about your breathing. And it's ultimately going to help you control your mind, body, and ultimately matches. Now, today we focused on more of a relaxation breathing technique, and it's called diaphragmatic breathing. It's a common breathing technique that a lot of performers use, right? This is used in elite sports, in other types of elite competitions, and things like that, even in the military, right? That's performance. It involves inhaling through the nose and exhaling out of your mouth at set ratios, which, as I mentioned, are usually going to be a half as long of an inhale as exhale, or another way of putting it, you exhale twice as long as you inhale, right? So you may inhale for 5 seconds through your nose, exhale for 10 seconds out your mouth. And remember, it could be a 1 to 1.5 for some people. And again, you also need to get the air into your belly while keeping your chest steady when you're using this technique. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Now, usually these come out on Sunday. Our next regionals is next week on Sunday is regionals, and it's on Friday too. So what I'm going to do, I do want to drop one more of these videos for you all. It's going to be on imagery, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that one on Wednesday. So it'll be a special day for the videos on Wednesday. It'll be probably the last one I do for a little bit, but it'll be on imagery so that we can try making imagery scripts which involve all 5 senses for you to really image and practice what it looks like to be successful in your performance. Now, if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can become part of the Hawk's Nest. We're a fabulous flock of fearless folks who love to do what we love, and we love to do it well. We find ways of doing it. We find ways of doing it really well and at the top. And hopefully some of these mental skills techniques are going to help you to do really well at your regionals and beyond. But if you're not quite ready to fly out, that's all right. Just hit that like button. We'll see you in an algorithm near you in the near future. But until then, see you next time.